All right, welcome to our September 10th Board of County Commission meeting. We're going to begin. Our invocation is going to be a moment of silence and followed by the pledge, so if we could all stand.
Especially in this week with September 11th, I think a moment of silence is appropriate for all those who lost their lives.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, guys. Don, Ms. Sarah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say the pledge for you guys. I wanted to make sure that we all did understand that this is some hallowed times. September 11th is tomorrow, and a little story about myself for September 11th. I was in, I believe it was 7th grade when I saw the towers fall. So for me to be 21 years old, what's that, Commissioner?
Just for a second.
Yes, I can't wrap my head around that, I'm sorry.
You were 7.
I was in 7th grade. 7th grade. Yeah. 7th grade. So I was, and the only thing I can remember thinking was, as naive as I was, we're gonna have school tomorrow? That was my biggest thing. And then 21, recession hit, 08, 09 time frame, and got laid off from a job. And I thought, well, military's best option for me. So here I am, 21 years old, fighting the same war that started when I was in 7th grade. So for me, it was a very significant time as a child growing up in that world. When I turned 34, I'm 35 now. When I turned 34, I went to Ground Zero. I've never been there before. I've never been to New York City. But when I did go to Ground Zero, I can tell you all, if you've ever been, I would highly recommend going. It's a very hollowed, somber site, that a lot of folks that didn't sign up to fight for their country and die for the country did die for their country. So as a veteran, as a combat veteran of Afghanistan that fought during this time frame, it was a very, very hollowed, somber site. I would highly recommend you guys going if you haven't gone already. It's a big part of my childhood, and hopefully we'd never, ever forget about it. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to have a moment of silence, and again, thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Hold on a minute. Commissioner Campy's having a stroke because you didn't say your name for the record.
State your name for the record, please.
Sorry, Jeff Norwood, Martin County Veteran Service Officer.
And you're younger than my youngest child. So, anyway.
Keep it that way. Thank you very much, Commissioners, and good luck today. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, our presets for the day are 9:05 public comment, 10 a.m. Brightline train station, Department 3, with the events last night. I think things are different. So 1:30 p.m. is Article 6 of the Land Development Regulation, impact fees, public hearing number 8. At 2, consideration of a resolution encouraging power systems manufacturing to submit an application for an ad valorem tax exemption. That's Department number 5. 5:05 public comment, and then our exciting 5:05 fiscal year 24-25 budget public hearing number 9. Don't want to miss that. We have no additional items, and we have no consent polls. And with that, I'll take a motion to.
It's light on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You missed a week.
I know.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Retrade.
Thank you for all that. Mr. Chair, I would move adoption of the September 10th, 2024 agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, proclamations. We have Constitution Week and Hunger Month Awareness. Ms. Laura.
Good morning, Commissioners. The week of September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week, and September 17th marks the 237th anniversary of the creation of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. In recognition of this occasion, the board encourages all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities that privilege involves. And here to accept, we have Kathy McCartney, who is Regent with the Halpatioke chapter.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity and for the proclamation from the Martin County Board of County Commissioners acknowledging September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. In 1955, the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution petitioned Congress with a resolution to set aside September the 17th through the 23rd, dedicated for the observance of Constitution Week. The annual celebration was established when signed by law by President Dwight D. Eisenhower on August the 2nd, 1956. NSDAR is committed to encouraging study and educating the public about the Constitution and the men who framed it. Thank you again for this proclamation on behalf of the nearly 300 members of Halpatioke Chapter. We are inviting you to please join us for ringing the bells in celebration of the signing of the Constitution on September 17th at 3:30 at the Stewart Downtown Gazebo. And you all received a Constitution book and a marker inviting you to come to that celebration. And I'd like to present my group that came, my army. And Sarah, where's your application?
I'm actually assembling it.
We have to assemble it.
You have to do genealogy research in order.
Not a daughter, you can't.
Yeah. But I am. I just have, I have to interpret my grandmother's Bible.
All, you think all of
I can't see it down there.
All right.
And these are like,
I'll do a couple with mine. 1, 2, 3. All right, please hold.
I only need them for certain things. When you need them, you need 'em.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next proclamation is declaring Hunger Action Month in Martin County, Florida. Hunger and poverty remain issues of grave concern in the United States, the state of Florida, and on the Treasure Coast, with 250,000 children, adults, seniors, and veterans experiencing food insecurity on a weekly basis. Martin County is committed to taking steps to raise awareness about the need to combat hunger in every part of our county and to provide additional resources that our residents need. To that end, the board is recognizing September as Hunger Action Month in Martin County. And here to accept, we have Angela Donovan, who is a volunteer, and she's appearing on behalf of the Treasure Coast Food Bank.
Hi there. Good morning. My name is Angela Donovan. On behalf of the Treasure Coast Food Bank President and CEO, Judy Cruz, our dedicated staff and volunteers, and Board of Directors, I would like to thank you for proclaiming September as Hunger Action Month. As a member of the Feeding America network of food banks, Treasure Coast Food Bank is leading the fight against hunger in our community by securing millions of meals and providing them to people facing hunger. We are proud to partner with more than 300 local food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and other emergency food providers throughout Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee counties. Throughout the month of September, Treasure Coast Food Bank will be hosting many events that include the 4th Annual Outrun Hunger 5K, Light Up Orange, and more. For more information on all these events and more, please visit our website at stophunger.org/HAM. Thank you again for your continued support in making sure our neighbors have access to the healthy meals and resources they need to thrive.
All right, we will take a couple. 1, 2, 3.
Nice job.
Ms. Woods, I see your light on. Would you?
I just was going to bring up, for purposes of the agenda, Don and I both need to ask something of you. As you all know, last night, the City of Stuart passed resolutions rescinding their approval of both the amended interlocal agreement with the county as well as their lease agreement with Brightline. Along with that, we were notified by Brightline because, again, this is a three-party situation. Brightline notified me that their agreement to the amended settlement agreement was contingent upon the city agreeing to or approving both the amended interlocal and the lease agreement. So at this point, I'm going to let Don kind of outline what our options are going forward.
So the agreement anticipates that three parties essentially participate together to complete the project, and any two of the members of that agreement can't complete it on their own. So at this point in time, our ability to proceed fully with the agenda item it doesn't make sense given the city's position. However, the board can take action as to either one, withdraw the item and take no action, or two, you can at least provide staff direction on if there is an interest to continue to negotiate with both the city and Brightline to bring back and see if there is an agreement that can be salvaged. And that would be, and we can either discuss that at the time of the agenda, or we can have that discussion now.
Well, I think if we're going to take no action, we should discuss it now to save a lot of people's time. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of continuing to try to negotiate with Brightline and with the city to see if we can come to an agreement.
Commissioner Campy.
Having watched nearly the entire City of Stuart meeting yesterday, one of the themes that I continued to hear, and having read all the information that people have sent to us both for and against, reading social media posts and platforms, to me, what one of the themes were, even from the people that were for the station but opposed to the deal. So even yesterday, the conversation was a lot of people that were speaking out in opposition were prefacing their comments. Even one of the leaders of the opposition, if you will, said there was a deal that could have been struck that would potentially, look, you're not going to make a deal that makes everyone happy. But I think there's the possibility of making a deal that would make a much larger majority happy. And so I agree with Commissioner Hurd that I'm not opposed to having our staff continue to have conversations with Brightline, continue to have conversations with Stuart administration, but our staff can also speak. There's two new commissioners that basically got elected on Tuesday, August 20th, and 6 days later were sitting in their seats as commissioners. It's basically like being shot out of a cannon. So I would recommend that even if our staff spoke to those commissioners to find out what potentially their concerns were, if I was going into a negotiation, I would want to know what all of the parties are thinking. I have had some conversations with some folks at Brightline myself in the last several weeks, and there are other communities that are interested in the station, but I still believe, from what I have heard from them, that they would still be interested in potentially hearing what a new negotiation would look like. I can't say that we will get to a deal that they would agree to and we could all agree to, but I don't think there's any harm in continuing to have that conversation.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I would, for my purposes, I would even simplify that further. I'm still supportive of moving forward, but I would leave the city of Stewart out of it, and I would just negotiate directly with Brightline and see what kind of deal could be struck with Brightline. This will now be the second attempt of having a station in downtown Stewart. 10, 12 years ago, we had full funding to build a transit center, and that didn't happen for various reasons. And so I think it would be in our best interest if this board is interested in still negotiating with Brightline. I would just deal directly with them and see if we can't put a deal together with Brightline, period.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I too watched the meeting from beginning till end, about 11 o'clock last night, and the recurring theme was, for even the opposition, was they want a fair deal for the taxpayer. So I would withdraw the items and continue talks with the city, because many of the commissioners, even those that voted against or voted for rescinding the item, said they wanted a fair deal for the taxpayer. So I would say let's have conversations with the city of Stewart.
I also had a conversation with Brightline as of actually yesterday afternoon, and this ship has sailed, my friends. So we can talk about all of it. I want a station in Martin County. We now have a 100-mile-an-hour train with absolutely no benefit. It's ridiculous. We fought the train, we lost. So, and by the way, the train was here before we were, so, but it wasn't going 100 miles an hour, I get it. But we can talk to Brightline all we want, but unfortunately, my personal opinion is if I was a betting man, we got very little chance. So with that said, now what?
Motion?
I'll make a motion.
You meet him, okay.
Yeah, I think you could make a motion to withdraw the item and provide the direction as stated.
Okay, Commissioner, I don't, who? Commissioner Campy? Or you wanted to?
You want to go?
No, go ahead.
Hearing from my colleagues, I would make a motion that we withdraw the item, that we ask our staff, head by Mr. Donaldson and Ms. Woods, and Mr. Stokas, who has been involved since the beginning, to begin a conversation/negotiation. And to Commissioner Smith's point, I would start a conversation with Mr. Mortel and the City of Stewart. And if, in your discretion, you felt like that wasn't going to work, I would have our own conversation with Brightline to explore all the options. I hear what Commissioner Jenkins is saying, that if he was a betting man, he doesn't believe that there's a deal to be had. But being a positive thinking person, putting my, you said, he positively believes there won't be a deal. With that in mind, I would think that it's worthy of a further conversation. And so I would start with the City of Stewart. If you believe they're not interested in being partners of a three-legged stool, then we'll have to find a different stool.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, am confident that we can reach a compromise. I'm almost certain that a compromise can be found, and I hope that it won't be very difficult. What I have noticed is that there's an awful lot of misinformation out there. People are making up numbers that just are pure guesswork. We have a finite budget. The city has a finite budget, and for people to triple those real numbers is harmful to us. So I'm confident that we can reach a compromise that we can all be happy to live with.
Okay.
So I'll second your motion.
Any other comments? Mr. Donaldson, your light's on. Are you done?
We're done, thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Are we taking public comment for this or no?
That's your discretion.
I guess we probably should.
Do you have direction?
I do have direction, I have clear
Okay.
direction, thank you.
Well, you got a motion, you got to vote on it.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And with that, we're going to take public comment. Remember, if you decide to speak about an agenda item during general public comment, you do not get a second bite at the apple. After 2 minutes and 45 seconds, you'll hear a tone that gives you 15 seconds to wrap up your thoughts. And Mr., you have your thing, right?
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner. So prior to coming to the podium, just want to announce to everybody that since we are in election season, politicking is prohibited, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office, either partisan or nonpartisan. This includes the use of words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel that convey a message of support for a person or group of persons. Thank you.
Okay, with that said, we're going to begin with Frank McChrystal. And the only reason I know it's that is because I see you back there. Your handwriting is hard. Followed by Mr. Tom Pine.
Leading us off, Frank McChrystal. Set the tone for the day. Nice and peaceful.
Stop it. What an honor to lead off, I guess. So much to say, but I figured I'd go biblical.
Okay.
Actually, words of my second favorite libtard behind my mom, Bruce Springsteen. The Big Muddy. Billy had a mistress down on A and 12th. She was that little something that he did for himself. His own little secret, didn't hurt nobody. Come the afternoon, he'd take her wading, waist deep in the Big Muddy. Waist deep in the Big Muddy. You start out standing, but end up crawling. Got in some trouble and needed a hand from a friend of mine. This old friend, he had a figure in mind. It was nothing illegal, just a little bit funny. He said, "Come on, don't tell me the rich don't know. Sooner or later, it all comes down to money. And you're waist deep in the Big Muddy. Waist deep in the Big Muddy. You start on higher ground, but end up crawling." Well, I had a friend said, "You watch what you do. Poison snake bites you, and you're poison too." How beautiful the river flows and the birds they sing. But you and I, we're messier things. There ain't no one leaving this world, buddy, without their shirt tail dirty or their hands a little bloody. Waist deep in the Big Muddy. You start on higher ground, but end up somehow crawling. Waist deep in the Big Muddy. Thank you.
Mr. Pine will be followed by Walter Lloyd.
Mr. Pine, are you going to be quoting Bruce Springsteen?
Oh, not me, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've been a resident of Martin County for over 50 years. Today in the consent agenda, this commission will approve $15,015,490.70, which was spent between August 12th and August 25th, 2024, without identifying the payees or the purpose of the payments. Here are some of the items I fear that are being hidden in the consent agenda. A contract for $1.4 million for improvements at the North Jensen Beach Water Treatment Plant. Construction of a roundabout, widening and sidewalks at High Meadows Avenue and Southwest Sun Trail in Palm City at a cost of $694,000, $694,020.90. This is where democracy goes to die in Martin County's consent agenda. It appears today meetings will be dealt with the Martin County difference. There are enough changes in our coast management plan listed in today's meeting. In real life, it would take several meetings to discuss what's slated to be changed. With only a few more meetings left until our new elected commissioners take their seats, I understand the rush. As I'm writing this, I don't know the outcome of the discussion going on in the City of Stewart Commission meeting tonight, but the Brightline train station in downtown Stewart, I feel confident that the majority of our county commissioners sitting here in front of me will do everything in their power to push this over the finish line. No matter how many more Martin County residents will be negatively affected because the big business interests at the Martin County Chamber of Commerce always get what they want. Just look around at all the things the taxpayers have paid for to benefit the Martin County Chamber of Commerce. the illegal expansion of runway 1230 of Mountain County Airport, the mooring fields in downtown Jensen Beach and the Palo Salerno area, the special agreement they got to use the Jensen Beach Community Center to see as they see fit. The community center was opened in September 2010 at a cost to the taxpayers $1.5 million. These are just a few of the items. It never ends. The Treasure Coast Food Bank, Hospice, the Salvation Army are just three of the many organizations working in Martin County to help feed our residents as the demand has skyrocketed over the past decade. You ask why? Because our local government acts like the taxpayers are their private little piggy bank to do whatever they feel like with our hard-earned money. Our tax dollars should only be used for items that are directly related to the operation of our local government. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.
Mr. Lloyd will be followed by Tammy Mozata.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good to see you. I wanted to start out by thanking the Commissioner of District 4 for her patience and long suffering, and also for calling for a lot more study and diligence in bringing these projects forward. I also agree with her that in this situation, there's probably a lot of misinformation out there, but I would like to note that we seem to get more information from social media and things outside of our local governments. Be nice if we got more information coming from the local government so that didn't happen. There wasn't misinformation. I'd also like to ask for us not to allow this deal to go forward with taxpayers footing the majority of the bill or 100% of the bill for a private-owned company, and that we don't give the rights to any land to be utilized for the benefit of anyone other than the public that currently owns it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Tammy? No Tammy? Okay. Michael Rafferty, John Michael Rafferty, followed by Gina Louise Kent.
How y'all doing? My name is John Michael Rafferty. I go by Mike. I've lived in Martin County over 60 years, okay? I've never been in front of the board to ask for any consideration for anything at all, not on all these 60-some years, all right? Now I am. I have a lady friend of mine. Her husband was a 100% disabled veteran, okay? He passed away, and she's asking me for help because I know the system. I'm a disabled vet as well, okay? And over the years, the last couple of years, when you request a meeting with this nice VSO group of people over here, the Veteran Service Officers, well, let's see what our appointments are for you. Next thing I can get you in is 3, maybe 4 weeks from now. Well, you know, the process to get a claim approved is very intensive. You've got to do a load of paperwork to get a claim through. These nice people over here, and it's not a bit of their fault, are doing everything they can for the veterans, which is about over 15,000 vets that they have to represent, plus all the other loads that are put upon him, like outreach programs that are out there trying to help veterans in the field. I ran into one at the library. But what I'm getting at with her is that she's asked me to help her, and I ran into one of the veteran officers at the library the other day, and he said, well, just go in there and make an appointment for her, Mike. I said, sure, just like I always do. Lady said, well, she said, the first one we've got for you, or her rather, would be the 18th, or you can pick the 24th of October. Now what she's trying to do is she's trying to get the money to help her redo her life again. She's 59 years old, okay? And I'm like, to me, that's kind of appalling. We should be taking care of these people better, the vets and their families, and I know you guys want to. They need staffing. The VSOs in this state of Florida, and I've had to go myself. I've got an appointment for this lady now. Up in Vero Beach, I got to take her up there because she can't wait this long. She needs money now. Her state's not settled and all these other problems. She's got to move out because her aunt owns the structure she's in and she's wanting to sell it. So they took it around underneath an emergency situation just to help. But me personally, I've had to go to Port St. Lucie to see a VSO in a reasonable time. I've had to go to Okeechobee. I've had to go to Jupiter. I've had to go to West Palm Beach because they're so buried over here. They need help, okay? And I'm asking for it. And if you can, there'd be a lot of people that, like myself, that would appreciate it instead of feeling like you're in a doctor's office line. You got so long, come on in and let's go, to cover all this difficult to prepare information to help get your benefits. Okay? Thank you.
Thank
Just 1
you.
minute. Commissioner Campy.
Mr. Donaldson, can you speak to our VSO and find out if he feels that they're understaffed? And if they are, can we bring that forward immediately? There's no reason our vets have to wait. I don't know, I'm sure there's more to the story, but, I hear Mike, and I have had one other person that said it's difficult and it's not their fault. If the demand outweighs the people that we have in the office, then we need to create more people in the office, even if we have to rotate someone from somewhere else to come and do that.
I can only state that I know that our reputation of having really good service has gone
Great.
beyond our borders, so that's certainly our success, and having really skilled staff, I think, has certainly contributed to the demand.
Oh, I get that, and I'm not criticizing our staff. I'm saying if they need an extra person,
Yes, I understand.
because the level of service is top-notch, which obviously creates additional demand, but some of these situations can't wait. And I'm not saying that you hire a new person. I'm saying maybe we could find someone else in the organization.
Volunteers.
Well, I mean, I don't know how it works, and I apologize for jumping in, but you pushed a button for me that I hear you. So, and Mr. Donaldson will help her. You can tell your friend you accomplished something this morning.
Thank you, kind sir. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, Gina Kent is followed by John Dyer.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name's Gina Kent. I am a Town Council member from Ocean Breeze. I am here on behalf to speak for the Adopt Proclamation for the Treasure Coast Christian Alliance Day of Prayer in Martin County. I've been here for 10 years. My mom lived at Sailfish for 30-some years, so I've been coming down here since I was 15. It's such a wonderful area. I mean, it's a jewel. Nobody knows about the Treasure Coast, but a lot of people are coming down, as we can see. I think that this would be a good proclamation to adopt, just to bring unity, and for all religions under God, as we state in the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm just asking that you favor that proclamation, and that it do go through and you do choose a date for Martin County Proclamation Day of Prayer. I think it's a good thing to bring everyone together, regardless their religion, but we're all under God. Okay? Thank you.
John Dial, followed by Sam Hay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good to see you all here, looking so fine. My name is John Dial. I'm a Vietnam-era veteran, and I'm a U.S. Coast Guard licensed captain and an FAA pilot, so I use all of Martin County's wonderful things. We were just voted one of the best places to retire, right? We all know it's a great place, so I think we need to kind of keep it that way. And I know Brightline's been tabled, but I like to refer to it as not so Brightline because I don't see any economic profit for the county on that, and that's a private entity being funded with government dollars and grants. They've lost over $200 million, maybe closer to $3 million, truth be known. It was all about putting tracks in with grant money and bond-free money for tracks, which I'm not against for freight. But like, for example, the marine industry put in $31.6 billion into this state, and in the, Martin County, it was $1.35 billion. And we're greatly impacted by the train, the schedules, and everything else. But, we had the, let's wait and see. But I think Tom was talking about the common thread is financial responsibility and transparency with all the local government to the people that live here. I just found out last night there's condos going in Port Salerno, and somebody handed me this paper, which is about 7 pages back and forth with the salaries for everybody that works for the county, and said there's a 12% pay raise on the table. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, I mean, these are, again, financial responsibilities and transparencies. And that's all I ask is, I think every commissioner here has a job to the people that they work for, because everybody up here is getting paid to be here, and we're paying for it. And I run a business, and I don't run it at a deficit. And I know your jobs are very difficult, and I've talked to some of you, one-on-one, and I know you're doing the best you can, but please, the information coming the other way on a very clear agenda would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sam Hay will be followed by Terry Kogel.
Yeah, I'm Sam Hay. I live in Port Salerno. It's my understanding that on your agenda for today's meeting are several proposals for substantial changes to our comprehensive plan. Considering the history of the current county commission, the prospect of any further changes to the comp plan is unavoidably suspect. The recent election results for both Martin County and the City of Stuart commissions indicate that the majority of us feel we've had more than enough of excessive development. I urge you now to reject any changes which would continue this trend of overdevelopment. Given the unambiguous results of last month's elections, it would be inappropriate for this lame duck commission to make any questionable changes to our comprehensive plan. Because these proposed changes are apparently quite complicated, I believe that at the very least they should be properly presented to the public and that sufficient time be given for full public scrutiny. Any effort to rush through these changes would look a lot like our governor's ham-handed plan to bulldoze a major portion of Jonathan Dickinson's state park to build golf courses, and we know how well that sneaky attempt was received by the people of Martin County. Indeed, the parallels here are striking. In both cases, treasured natural areas are destroyed or degraded with little regard, if any, for the wishes of the community. Wildlife habitat is eliminated. Our already compromised watercourses become further contaminated. People lose vital contact with our natural surroundings, and future generations never have the opportunity to enjoy their rightful natural heritage. The obvious question here is who stands to benefit from these changes. In the case of our state park, it's certainly not the endangered Florida scrub jay or the hikers, boaters, and mountain bikers who come to the park to commune with nature. In the case of Martin County, it's not citizens who wish for the opportunity to live in a location unspoiled by nerve-wracking traffic, increased levels of crime, and rampant development. In both cases, we are again faced with the inevitable question of follow the money. Who typically benefits from weakening the comp plan? It's developers who seek to maximize their profits at the expense of our environment and our quality of life. Let's put a halt to this disastrous trend now. Thank you.
Hear, hear. Barry Kogel is followed by Patricia
Swicki.
Good morning, Commissioners. Terry Kogel. Okay, Brightline is an unnecessary financial burden on Martin County residents. Why is Martin County being forced to subsidize a wealthy foreign corporation? The majority of Brightline was acquired by Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Company, which is owned by Abu Dhabi government, founded in 2018. Has a diversified non-oil portfolio ranging from energy, utilities, food, agriculture, healthcare, life sciences, real estate, and tourism. The firm claims that it has contributed about 22% to Abu Dhabi's non-oil GDP in 2023. Has a net worth of $157 billion. So why are we subsidizing a $157 billion foreign company? Are we out of our minds? There is no economic benefit to the Martin County taxpayers from a payment to a private foreign $157 billion corporation when the funds are derived from the successful completion of the projections will only flow into the coffers of the $157 billion private corporation. It's illusionary and speculative claim that the shops and restaurants in downtown Stuart, which are small, will attract consumers to travel for miles away just to avail themselves to their services at the cost of the Martin County taxpayers. However, despite the limited hypothetical benefits to the downtown businesses, I have no objections for the Brightline building the Stuart train station and its parking garage, as long as Brightline pays for it. Let the $157 billion owners of Brightline pay for their own business needs. Heck, they can build a thing out of gold. We have to be completely out of our minds or just plain stupid to even consider forcing the taxpayers to pay this. Okay, you say that there's been a lot of misinformation out there. Just do your research on this and you will find that this is a true statement.
Patricia Sawicki is followed by Carol Ann Leonard. Is Patricia?
There she comes.
There she comes.
More negative in their meetings than at the city,
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Sawicki. I live in Stuart, Florida. I had this speech all prepared. I'm not going to read it. I first came to Stuart in the late 80s and early 90s, the downtown area, and it was a tired area. When I moved to Florida, finally, in 2017, I was amazed how it had changed, and it changed beautifully. The downtown area pulled itself up by both bootstraps, and that is from the hard work of the businesses, the county, and the city for that to happen. And it is that strength, that beauty, that is the shining star of what I believe Florida. The deal with Brightline is a business deal, and with every business deal, there run negotiations. The deal that we were addressed with yesterday and today was not a good deal. And there were several people who spoke up and wanted a different deal. I am not opposed to the Brightline train coming into Stuart. I'm just opposed to the deal as it has been presented to us. We need to renegotiate the deal, and if Brightline chooses to bypass the shining star of the state of Florida, that's their business decision and possibly their loss. As to the shopkeepers that are in Stuart right now, in downtown Stuart right now, it is their strength that will be bypassed by the trains as it goes past us at 100 miles an hour. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, I wanted to talk about Brightline now, and
You want the microphone?
at public speaking, I wanted to speak about two other items that are different. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, I missed what you, anyway, if you need to come up here.
Brightline now,
Yeah.
and then I want to speak.
Well, Brightline, I believe we're done talking. We're taking that off the agenda. So
I thought you were talking about Brightline now.
we already voted on Brightline. That's
Public
where-
comment now.
You can talk, you can do it in public comment.
This is
Yes.
public comment.
Okay, then, I'm going to get my difference.
Speeches. She's
Anyway, Ms. Leonard will be followed by Mr. Wynn, Chuck Wynn.
Good morning. I oppose agenda item DPQJ-1, the development of 98 single-family homes at Canner Highway and Lost River Road. That area and all of Canner Highway are highly congested already. The approved mega developments along Bridge Road will be using Canner, as well as the approved developments west of I-95 by Canner. Secondly, literally for years, the public and the environmental groups have been writing and speaking their comments to the Martin County Board of County Commissioners. We oppose the excessive overdevelopment, especially those outside the urban service boundaries, USBs. We don't want continual expansion of the rural lifestyle acres. We want few and only beneficial changes to the comprehensive plan. There are many other concerns, too many to list here. The people have spoken regarding the EAR survey and in the last BOCC election. Surely you can see what we want for Martin County. I hope that the commissioners who are leaving and those that remain will do the honorable thing, do what we, the majority of the people, want. Don't try to rush through all the things that we, the people, oppose. It's your legacy. As far as Brightline, I wrote my comments to you already. I'm in support of it. I would think you can find the means to fund it without raising our taxes. We need a parking garage now. Why not use it for the train station? And I don't, so that's my comment. Thank you.
Mr. Nguyen will be followed by Judith Farley.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Chuck Nguyen. I live in North River Shores. My comments are directed to the Brightline station issue. I don't have a problem with a renegotiated agreement that's limited to a station constructed at a reasonable cost per square foot in a parking garage. Brightline must also share not less than 1/3 of the costs. This must also not be the cornerstone of a long-range sustainable development plan for transforming Martin County into an urbanized, transit-oriented community. Since your August 27th meeting, even more information has surfaced revealing previously hidden features in the severely flawed process that the city followed in developing their proposal. Again, thanks to Mrs. Casing-Ramullen's persistent efforts, we also have a clearer picture of the excessively leveraged financial condition of Brightline, the foreign-owned corporation who would be your partner. The transit-oriented development pieces were also very well camouflaged. Under no circumstances should the county deed parcels of land with development rights that exceed requirements for a station, parking, and possibly an overhead walkway. The current agreement is the centerpiece of a plan for a transit-oriented community. It is not just a transit stop with a parking garage for a commuter rail system. Last May, this foreign-owned company reverted to its original business plan of shuttles between Orlando and Miami by ending South Florida commuter discounts. Over the years, Brightline has consistently failed at running profitable passenger rail operations. The current plan gives Brightline immediately development rights on over 2 acres and also gives them the right to acquire 3 more acres south of Monterey Avenue once they are remediated. I'm assuming that they're anticipating this will be done at taxpayer expense. The one profitable Brightline operation over the years has been selling buildings on land that they obtained the exclusive development rights of under similar private-public partnership agreements elsewhere. Throughout this process, federal grants have been repeatedly emphasized as sources of funding, but none have materialized to date. This is a great leap backwards to that HUD-driven 750 plan that our county commission wisely withdrew from 11 years ago. Do it right this time.
Judith Farley will be followed by Stephen
Vitale.
Vitale.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Judith Farley. My husband, Chris, and I are the owners of a boutique in the heart of downtown Stuart for 12 years now, and are longtime residents of the city of Stuart. So nervous, sorry.
Take a breath, you're fine.
As a boutique owner, trying to make this yellow shirt fashionable is quite difficult this morning after only 4 hours of sleep. I want to thank you for your service. I know it's not easy to hold your positions that you do, and I respect what you said earlier about going before the Brightline in the city of Stewart and trying to negotiate. I guess I'm here to ask you to try to redeem what happened last night for our city, to restore some hope that we will get a beautiful station downtown. The staff of the city of Stewart put together an excellent presentation last night that I believe really answered a lot of questions and dispelled a lot of the concern, rightful concern. I do believe we should carefully consider and get the best deals possible. But to rescind last night was, I feel, an irresponsible decision that did not represent the majority of the constituents in Stewart. It was very disheartening. Even the behavior of a certain commissioner was just so disheartening to see our mayor disrespected. I just wish that that could be addressed and maybe prevented in the future. Our mayor's done so much for our community. So I want to thank you for all acting so professional today and respectful with each other and to us. It means a lot. Thank you for professionalism. And I just want to say thank you for that, and I hope that you do restore our reputation. We are a bright spot on the Treasure Coast. We're a bright spot in Florida, and I look forward to hopefully getting a train station. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Steve will be followed by Sherry Lee.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephen Vitale. I live in Sewell's Point. I've lived in Martin County for almost 22 years. I own the old Colorado Inn Hotel in downtown Stewart. I used to sit on the Martin County Tourism Board for several years. There is a lot of support for this station for several reasons. First of all, the lifestyle benefits. They're obvious. I don't need to repeat them. Secondly, the enhancement to our tourist-based economy, which is so important. There is approximately 1,000 people that supported the Support Brightline Facebook page, and there were almost 250 letters that were sent to the City of Stewart Commission, the overwhelming majority of them in favor of the station. Last night at the meeting, the overwhelming majority of people who attended were in strong favor of this station. I don't know if any of you saw the meeting last night, but it truly was an embarrassment to our city. The way that some of the commissioners conducted themselves was disgraceful, in my opinion, and I appreciate the way you are all conducting yourselves up here and always do, and we need you to rescue our reputation after the debacle last night. Last night, the interlocal agreement between Martin County and the city did survive. That gives you leverage because it requires the city to spend $30 million on a parking garage to accept the land and to lease it to the city. So now you have the power to do the right thing for our county and save this train station, because everybody knows to have this going by, blowing its horn hundreds of times a day without the benefit of the station would be criminal, absolutely criminal, and the chance will never come again. Please do the right thing and save this station. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I am told that can you hear me?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh, it is on, okay. People have been texting me, they can't hear me. Anyway, Sherry Lee, followed by Steve Adams.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your vote to renegotiate this. I was at the meeting last night, up very late. extremely disappointed in the proceedings. I think procedure wasn't followed. There was a lot of disrespect. It felt very chaotic. I'm in the city and in the CRA for 12 years, so I own a couple of businesses in the CRA downtown. I own property. I'm invested in that CRA. That's my money that people are talking about. I feel that they're ill-informed. I did learn last night that the county spends $30 million a year maintaining our roads. I don't know what you spend to build new ones, but I feel that maybe you could speak a little bit about that today and continue to educate people that are so worried about the money. The money's already there for this. That CRA has been collecting money from me for since I've owned my building downtown. I was polled many years ago about this train, and I know from being in Palm Beach County when Tri-Rail started up down there, these are multi-regional projects, and they're going to happen. And you can either get in line and be part of it, or you're going to get left behind. Our community needs to be connected to the huge population that's down south. The growth is already here. The growth is already north of us. People started coming from California and the other coast during COVID. That growth is already here, and I know you've had a very difficult time managing that growth because people are screaming for affordable housing, and the minute you put up a bunch of affordable housing, they go crazy. So I know it's a difficult job. I appreciate, Doug Smith, you saying, let's just take this over as a county project. I think that's an interesting angle. I hope that the city was being genuine when they said they would want to renegotiate. I'm not sure that's true. But Brightline is a gift and a blessing to our community, how it would connect us to the hospitals, the stadiums, the airports, the seaports, north and south of us, our friends and family, north and south of us. And it's not for us for now, it's for our future. It's for our kids and their kids. They're going to be using this train for generations to come. I appreciate your vote, and I'm going to be following this very closely. Please talk about that $30 million a year for maintaining our roads. I think that's very interesting information. Thank you.
Okay, Steve Adams is followed by, wow, Nikki Von Vano. Where is she? I don't know.
She's sitting in the front with the hat on.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Oh, there she is.
I can't see her from here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm new here to Palm City, 2.5 years with my mom. I retired.
Good for you.
Thank you. I take care of her. She takes care of me. And because I'm new here, I found out from a lot of Martin County long-term residents that I'm one of the hated people because I'm new. That makes me feel wonderful. But I come from South Jersey, where I'm a retired police officer, patrol sergeant, and a lot of people hated me for that, so it really doesn't matter.
Not if you're from South Jersey.
The problem where I come from is it's overdeveloped beyond belief. You could reach out and touch your neighbor and shake his hand. The houses are so close. It'll never be the same because that's where I grew up. It'll never be the same. And there's a lot of residents here that say the same thing. Martin County's not going to be the same. I plead with you to slow things down big time. And I also, with that being said, I do like the Brightline station, but I absolutely oppose the way it's going to be funded. And I feel for the businesses in Stewart, but I feel their attention is misdirected because Brightline switched out the deal. It was supposed to be 50%, 50-50, and they changed it. So it's not the city of Stewart that is making a bad deal. They're looking to make a better deal. And I hope you guys can make a deal. If you can't, you can't. But I don't want it coming out of my pocket. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. They should be paying their own way. And that's how I feel. Because the haters of Martin County who don't like me are all working today because they're struggling with bills and they're struggling with our out-of-control inflation. And maybe that's a problem too. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, Ms. Van Vano will be followed by Michael Don.
There she is.
Welcome home.
It's nice to see everyone. Good morning. I'm Nikki Van Vano, and I'm a retired county bureaucrat. And so I did go to the City of Stuart meeting last night, but that's not really why I came to talk to you. I basically came to tell you, irregardless of what anybody says, I love you all. I think you do a great job. I'm so proud of you. And I just really appreciate you. And I wanted to tell you about George Washington and Lafayette, because their friendship saved this country. And we should remember that friendship is what binds us. We are all the same. We are all the same. And that should be our mantra. We should stop talking about color, because quite frankly, all the shades are blending in to make a universal construct. So read your history. Appreciate what George Washington did for our country. He saved our democracy. And that's what needs to be foremost in our minds. I told you before, I love it when you have a room full of people in here screaming at you, because it shows people that we know how to practice democracy. And so thank you for your service. I'd like to thank that police officer who was just here. I thought I would burst into tears when he was talking about how everybody hates him. I do not hate him. I applaud his service and his dedication. And I want him to know I love him, even if he is from New Jersey. And thank you all.
Thank you, Nikki. Michael Don will be followed by our last speaker form, Janet Riley. Apparently not our last speaker form.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Don. Mickey's my nickname, so I got to speak before the commission last night. And I just want to say that I was very disappointed in the manner in which the people were treated. It was disrespectful. I've been to my wife and I both retired from Miami-Dade Fire Rescue as firefighter paramedics, and so we've been up in Stuart and Martin County for the last 25 years. We built the house in the city of Stuart, and when we heard that the Brightline was going to be here, we were very thrilled that, not that we opposed it originally, of course. We didn't want it to come through our city, but once it was here, the fact that we could get a station was really a benefit to all of the citizens, I believe, in Martin County. And I had an opportunity to ride the Brightline, and I would tell you it was a great experience. The worst part of the whole thing was, though, I had to drive 50 miles to get there. Now, I only have to go 2 miles. I don't have to leave my car at the station. It's a great benefit for us, and I believe that the majority of the citizens in this county believe that they need that for them. There were a number of people last night that have to travel down to medical facilities in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and this would be an opportunity for them not to have to drive. The fact that it's going to be going to the Tampa area also is important. And as I mentioned last night, prior to the city elections, my mailbox every day was filled with all the things that the new commissioners that were elected promised to do. But the one thing that they omitted was abolishing the Brightline station. They didn't bring that up. And the reason they didn't bring it up because they wouldn't have been sitting there last night had they brought it up. I believe the voters in this county would overwhelmingly vote in favor of having the station and the stops in Martin County. So whatever you folks can do, I would certainly appreciate that, and I think that the majority of the citizens of Martin and Stewart would also benefit from that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Janet Riley, followed by DeWitt Price. And again, that's my last speaker.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for allowing us to voice our opinions. All right, there has been so much manipulation, deception, and abysmal negotiations causing both a financial and safety burden to the taxpayers of this community when it comes to Brightline. Future decisions regarding Brightline should not and cannot be made with predominantly Brightline, business owners, and politicians in mind. Brightline has been a worthy opponent, but it's time the commissioners stand with their constituents and rescind the lease, all the lease agreements and the leases. Brightline has and will continue to defend their financial and physical encroachment into Martin County. Our job as citizens of this community is to stand firm and not be taken advantage of by Brightline, AKA Florida East Coast Industries, itself a subsidiary of the Fortress Investment Group, which is in turn a subsidiary of Mubadala Investment Group, an Emirati state sovereign wealth fund. You see, Brightline is not actually a rail company. It is a branch of a larger property speculation company. Yes, and none of these folks live here. Let me address the safety issue. From the start of operation, Brightline fatally struck 110 people. At one death per 32,000 train miles, this is by far the highest rate of fatality in the United States when it comes to rail. To compare, the overall U.S. train fatality rate was 1.4 per 1 million miles in 2017. And as one journalist reported, and I quote, "According to Brightline, these tragedies are always the fault of the person crossing." Lovely folks, wouldn't you say? It's just business to Brightline. Sheriff William Snyder, who always has had this community's best interest in mind, has been opposed to Brightline from the inception. In February 23, he said, and I quote, "That Brightline train will be a clear and present danger to our drivers. With the amount of people driving across these tracks and the backups that occur naturally across the tracks, it's only a matter of time before we have the same exact thing happen here." And he was referring to the fatalities that occurred in South Florida in Delray. And he further stated, "Money always carries the day." The drivers of Martin County are going to suffer for it. It's only a matter of time before we have our own fatalities here. And he was right. There has been 10 train incidents on the Treasure Coast since 2023. Am I due? And 5 injured. And this is really rich. In March 2024, Brightline sought tax dollars again to fund fencing and other safety upgrades. Brightline is a private venture.
Madam, your time is up. Thank you.
Tax dollars to mitigate their cost of safety upgrades. I didn't even get to crime. The crime is a big issue.
Ma'am,
your time's up. Thank you. Mr. Prince is followed by Christine Price, is followed by Christine Dawn. And Tammy, I'll get to you. I got you over here.
Good morning, Commission. My name is DeWitt Price. I am actually property owner, business in the city, in the county, and in the city, and I also live over in Sills Point. I'm sitting here and I listen to the various statistics that were just being thrown out, and I look at the information that's being broadcast or being told. Last night I learned at a commission that it's all from social media. So I guess, what I feel is that as a board, Hopefully, we're actually looking at real professional information and gathering info from folks that know what they're talking about, not just looking at keyboard warriors. I've lived here for the last 15 years. I actually work in a lot of the municipalities that have got the Brightline stations. I've sat on different boards as Brightline has been trying to figure this out throughout from Southeast Florida, all the way from Miami, all the way up to Orlando. This is not something that is coming. It's already here. The benefit to the community is large. My kids that have born and grown up here, I'd hope for them to be able to have the ability, just like me, to be going to these different areas to work and being able to live here. That's my hope. I've invested heavily here in order to help create the economy that works. I think that proper development, yes, there's a way to slow things down, there's a way to do proper development, but there's a way to also create an economic engine to have our kids come back. Everyone has heard that come up here is like, oh, people can't be here because they're working. Guess what? You're right. But we also have a lot of younger folks that would like to be here or stay here, and I'd like my kids to come back. We're not all retirees. At some day I will, but I'd like for my kids to be able to be here to help take care of me, not going somewhere else, and then worrying about how do they get back. Do I jump on a train, deal with the traffic for 2-3 hours? I want to make it as easy as possible for them. So I think that the idea of going back and renegotiating and looking at how this would work directly with Brightline, that's an option. There's definitely a lot of different options. TOD is the way to go to help create the benefit from traffic reduction. You know, yeah, I hear crime as a statistic. I'm like, okay, so you know what? Yes, it's going to bring crime. Everyone complains about the ticket prices being too high, but yeah, a criminal's going to pay $200 or whatever they're quoting last night to come up here to commit crime. I don't see that happening. So we need to keep everything in check and really think about the facts. Costs, listen, I do this every day. Everyone, when they look at costs, it's a speculation. They make a conservative review. Until you really get plans and really get down to the nitty-gritty, you really will figure out what it will cost. Thanks.
Christine Dawn, followed by Tammy Mazzo, and just Mazzota. Just say what the proper pronunciation. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Christy Dawn, and my husband, as he just stated, that we are both retired Miami-Dade firefighter paramedics who moved here about 25 years ago. Obviously, I am dressed like Brightline. I am yellow from head to toe, and I completely support it. And I can tell you that in the beginning, I obviously was extremely against it. I did not felt that the train needed to go through all of our communities. Historically, the state voted twice to have a high-speed rail, and it was supposed to be out west, where it wouldn't have gone through our towns. However, that deal was done and given back by one of our previous governors. So there is a history that the state of Florida has voted, its residents have voted for railroad. I've traveled around the world. My dad worked for Pan American. There's not a country around, except maybe the United States, that doesn't have rail system to help people get from place to place. You can't go anywhere in Florida without a car. We had a station. We thought a deal was done. Same as my husband, felt like last night the commission, the new commissioners were extremely disrespectful. That was I was quite surprised and shocked how things went down last night. And it's very sad to me that things have been turned down when the deal had already been made. And I please implore you to please do whatever you can to save the station, to have a train go through here every day, disrupting our traffic and our fire rescue services and our boating and our life in general without stopping here so that we can benefit from it to go north and south without having to drive 50 miles to get the train going south. And God forbid this train goes to Fort Pierce, because I wouldn't leave my car in Fort Pierce and to take the train. And you're laughing, but it's true. How many of you would leave your car in Fort Pierce right now at a train station? And as my husband said, we are literally 2 miles. We would Uber to the station. We wouldn't be leaving our car. But look at all the benefit that it would create for this community, as the businesses have said, as other people have stated. But I'm looking at it as a big picture, that we need transportation that isn't just a car. We need to come to the 2024 And I'll give you, I'm 67 years old. When I was 17, so 50 years ago, I was in Japan for Thanksgiving. Literally about, seriously, I took a bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto 50 years ago. Think about it.
Thank you. Tammy is going to properly pronounce her last name when she gets to the podium. Thank you.
Tammy Mazzota, just like it's spelled. I actually put in two slips to address two things. The first one I'm going to bring up is actually the very last. It's Department 5.
Okay, so you have another card for that.
I do.
You're
Should
not
I
gonna
do them
be
both
here?
at the same time?
So you can't speak at it again when the item comes up. So if you want to speak now
Okay.
and
I'll
forever
just-
hold your peace, you can.
All right, I'll do a little Brightline piece then.
Okay,
I mean,
all
it
right.
doesn't matter to me. I just have the two things to say and that's it. So everyone's on the Brightline, and I can't tell you anything that you don't already know. We know this. And as far as numbers being wrong and misinformation being passed through, there's a big reason for that, and a lot of it is transparency and communication. We don't have enough transparency. We don't have enough communication so everyone can be on the same page. And any choice that you make, you are going to get it from the rear. And no one's going to be happy either way. But I just want to let you know that I have confidence in all of you to come through with the proper decisions for the train station. I'm not against it, but I'm not for the deal. As everybody's already said, we got a bad deal going on. So I do have confidence in you. People may not agree with me, but I do. I really do have faith in the commissioners, whether it be the city or the county. And I think the right thing's going to happen. And I thank you very much for all your patience with everyone and for working under this stress and making decisions for us. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. So, okay, and with that, that was our last public speaking forum, so we're going to go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the folks that commented this morning relative to Brightline and relative to transparency, information, and so on, I know I worked really hard with staff this prior week, and Brightline, quite frankly, to make sure that in the agenda item we would have had today, there would have been a tremendous amount of clarity as to what is and what isn't, at least from what we understand, what we know, and what our professional staff would have presented. So hopefully that will happen in the future, because there is a lot of information and there's a lot of fact, at least as I understand fact, and probably the rest of our board does. So that should be coming in the future, regardless of where we end up with the negotiations. To the gentleman firefighter, or police department, I guess, police, you said, from South Jersey? My family, half my family was from South Jersey.
What exit?
Way South Jersey, like real South Jersey, not Middle Jersey, South Jersey. I don't think South Jersey, at least where my family was from, has changed that much, other than the shore has changed tremendously. For those of you who know Ocean City, New Jersey, what it was when I was a kid was nothing like it is today, and that's a shame. But we are not that, and I don't think we will ever be that here. And I think that's it. I'm happy. I'm glad the merchants have come forward. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the time to come back out again today from Stewart. There's a lot more to the discussion to be had. I think it's important that if we do end up moving in that direction, that it is good for downtown Stewart, and I think it'll be important. I understand it has to be done right, and I suspect the rest of our board feels exactly the same. So I wish our staff the very best in working through whatever those issues may be. Also, too, we had our 16 County Coalition meeting last Friday, a really good meeting. There'll be a transition relative to the 16 County Coalition, but I think the next 25 years relative to Lake Okeechobee restoration, water policy, what I consider, what I call all things water policy has a really bright future. You have a great group of people that work on our behalf, work with us, both the Corps, both the Water Management District, and certainly the 16 counties that make up that board have worked very, very hard to make sure that we stay focused on our top 3 or 4 priorities, which we continue to do. I'm sorry to see Carson Turner leave. Probably most of you in the room don't know who Carson is, but Carson absolutely will have left a legacy relative to the 16 County Coalition. There is no one, I don't think, amongst that group of people that worked harder, tried harder to be consistent and keep things moving relative to all things water in South Florida than Carson. And so, Carson, if you ever get a chance to hear this, thank you for all your service. And he's retiring, but he's on to bigger and better things, and I feel that we will see his footprint again. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Heatherington.
I have a couple things, but the theme of conversation this morning seems to be communication, and we've all talked about it up here. We've wrangled our head and said we have to do a better job communicating out of this building. But I think we've tried just about everything. We've tried, YouTube, social media, press releases, workshops, and I'm a communication person at heart. And I think that the county strives to have transparency and communicate. And it is just so frustrating to hear still that, that people think that we're not communicating. And I want to do the best job to communicate with our public. So I'm all ears. Part of the problem is so many people get their misinformation on social media, and it just fuels a fire, and it's really hard to put that out. But I think that we double down and do as much communication as we can. And I heard something yesterday, and I tried to stay off of social media now because it becomes so toxic. I get an email on my personal email from Nextdoor, which, I never cared to see people bash businesses because their hamburger was undercooked, and that's a lot of that. And it said that the county's taking up these agenda items, and they've really had, and these are the ear amendments, that they've really had no public comment, and they're rushing them through. And I mean, we'll hear those items later, but I feel like we've been talking with these about a year and a half, possibly. And I'm watching this commentary saying, show up, they're going to cram these things through. And I always want to hear the comments. If you have a comment on the agenda item, please, by all means. But please do not say that we're trying to cram things through when they've been talked about a year and a half or more. I also saw online that you were resigning.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, but clearly you have chosen not to run for re-election. So again, the misinformation, and I hope that we can do whatever we can do to continue to communicate with our public and know that we have the most transparency out there. It's frustrating, but we'll continue to work on our communication. Second of all, I hope many of you, and I'm sure Commissioner Campy will mention this, the Bridge Walk tomorrow, we will be honoring September 11th, and we will be having a bridge walk on the Veterans Memorial Bridge from Commissioner Campy's district to my district and back. And I hope you will all join us. It starts at Jock Layton Park.
Correct.
And what time is it, Commissioner Campy?
8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m. And we value our first responders, both those who put their life in harm's way that day and those who do it every day in our community. So hope you'll join us for that. And I think that was my last comment.
We have a bridge, too, that goes to my 96th Street, right? We could walk that one. We might get killed on it, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Me?
Yep.
Thank you very much. First off, thanks for all the folks that came out this morning to participate in the process. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I watched the meeting. I see some of you spoke very late last night and are here this morning. That's how the system is supposed to work, and we appreciate it. I do like when people wear colors based on their position. We should adopt that for everything, where people can come in wearing like jerseys, so we have a better understanding of, as they're coming forward, what their issue is. On a much more serious note, I would say that, as Commissioner Hetherington mentioned, we are continuing to try to do all we can to never forget. September 11th is tomorrow. I think it's, it becomes more of an adult remembrance. I had the sad experience of being in New York City on September 11th, watched the towers fall down, probably lost 15 or 20 people that I knew from my neighborhood in law enforcement, fire rescue, kids I went to school with, people I rode the train with. All three of my brother-in-laws were New York City police officers, not there that day, but there for weeks and months afterwards, dealing with the aftermath of 9/11. By the grace of God, the three of them have remained healthy, but many, many people that they know died after the fact from 9/11-related diseases because they were heroes, and they rushed there later that day and worked on what they called the pile, or ground zero, for months and months and months afterwards. And a lot of them knew what they were inhaling and what they were dealing with and sifting through was obviously not healthy, but they did it anyway. So for us as a society, even though it's 2 decades later, to somehow forget is a crime. And so we are having events in the morning. There are events all over the Treasure Coast, but here in Martin County, as Commissioner Hetherington mentioned, we're having our Martin County Fire Rescue Department is having a bridge walk with their personnel at 8:30 a.m. at Jock Layton Park, which is the park diagonally across from the Palm City Post Office at the corner of Map Road and Martin Highway. There's a skate park in the front there. You'd park there, you could walk over. If walking all the way over the bridge to Canner is too much, you can walk to the top of the bridge, you could stay in the parking lot and participate. It's a solemn event for those people that like to get up and get their day started early. One thing I was very happy to hear about is that the schools are allowing students that wish to participate the opportunity to participate, as well as, obviously be late for school. In the evening at 7 p.m. at the Peter and Julie Cummings Library, which is Martin Downs Boulevard and Matheson. For many years, we have had a very solemn event there. Martin County High School Opus singers are there. People that participated that day or have loved ones that were killed that day give their personal experiences. Dennis McKenna, who is a friend of mine, has been working passionately about this issue since it happened. He is constantly the person that sort of spearheads this for us. And I know sometimes he can be a bulldog, but he's a bulldog for the right reasons. We also have, you can see it there tomorrow, but you can see it at any point. We have a very large portion of structure from the World Trade Center. And every time I look at it, and I think you would as well, is you can sense the sheer devastation, the violence of those crashes into this structure. Because we have a tremendously large I-beam, and it has little flanges that come off of it that look like they were tinfoil, crumpled like tinfoil. And that just helps us to not forget. Because, the way that society seems to be going currently, I don't think anybody would be totally shocked if something terrible happened again. But part of that diligence is that you can't forget the things that happened, as well as the fact that how many people joined the military immediately following it. That was their motivation to join the military, and we've had thousands of our men and women killed protecting us. A lot of them were inspired or motivated to protect and defend our country because of what happened that day. So it ripples across the generations. I would tell you my own son was May, June, July, August, September, 4 months old when 9/11 happened. And he's currently serving in Corpus Christi, Texas, in the Navy. And he would tell you that one of his motivations, obviously he doesn't have a memory of that day, but he has a lifetime of memories of how we remembered it. So I thank you for the time.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, the Army Corps of Engineers and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection may once again be considering an application to dredge the Riverwatch Conservation Easement in Jensen Beach on Hutchinson Island. It's a very important habitat. There are seagrass beds there. There are mangrove forests there that will be threatened by this proposed dredging. This property, it's a 12-acre easement, and it has a conservation easement in perpetuity. It was established in 1991 and reestablished in 2003. No need for maintenance dredging has been demonstrated. In fact, the DEP has noted that sufficient navigability of the Flushing Channel currently exists. So I would ask that we oppose this dredging permit. It's also a top priority of our own hippie community, and by hippie, I mean the Hutchinson Island Preservation Initiative. So I would ask that we support the hippie group and oppose this dredging.
This is the first time hearing of these specific issues. Not that I don't believe that Commissioner Hurd is giving us the information. I appreciate the fact that Hippie is involved, but if you want to maybe do something and come back later today and give us a little update on it. I'm sure if there's a request for dredging, I'd like to hear what that request for dredging was, even though I know you delve into the issues, so I'm not opposed to writing a letter saying that we don't think it's necessary, but I don't have enough facts at this moment.
You can come back to us later in the day.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
That'd be good. And also, I just wanted to say that we're very, very pleased in Port Salerno. Last week, a long-awaited business opened. It's Gilbert's Coffee Bar. There's currently one downtown by the Sailor Returns, and they repurposed an old failing building and redeveloped it, and it's beautiful. They've done a fantastic job. So I want to welcome that terrific business into downtown Port Salerno. That's exactly how redevelopment is supposed to work. Thanks.
This morning's meeting brought to you by Gilbert's Coffee Bar.
Yeah, it is.
All right. My comments is I attended the 16 County Coalition meeting as the send-off of Commissioner Smith and Carson. I can tell you, you will be sorely missed for all your hard work over these years. And I'm sure that applies to everything you've done with Florida Association of Counties and everything else. So it was a moving tribute, yes. And I'm going to go outside my comfort zone here, and I'm going to say I watched the City of Stewart meeting last night. I've been sitting on this board for 8 years, and we have had some pretty serious disagreements, right? And we've always treated each other with respect and decorum. I'm going to say it right now. What I saw last night, City of Stewart, citizens of City of Stewart should have a huge problem with the way, whichever side of that issue you were on, should have a huge problem in the way that meeting was conducted last night and the total disrespect, again, both sides, right? Those elected officials should, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I am very thankful that the five of us, and Ed Fielding before you, Stacy, we always, no matter, we could have been on complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but at least we showed each other respect, and I do thank you for that. And anyway, I did have something else to say, which has left me. So anyway, Yes.
Can you update us on the station, your station?
So the station, the moving of the train station, not a Brightline station, by the way.
Maybe it should.
It is, it is going to be yellow. It was, the original color was yellow. You actually found the yellow up in the rafters. The historic train station was supposed to be moved last month for a number of different reasons. That did not happen. It is scheduled to move on the 15th. The problem now is AT&T is on strike. So we need AT&T, the mover needs AT&T and Florida Power and Light to drop the lines. There's, I think, somebody said there's 14 different lines that have to be dropped, altered, picked up, or whatever for it to get to its current, from its current location to the site. The site, the foundation is poured and in the ground and ready to accept the train station. So again, scheduled for the 15th, Sunday. If something happens with AT&T between now and then, if not, it'll be pushed off again, which is a shame.
Is it going to be early in the morning again?
Yeah,
5 a.m. or something?
like 5 to 5:30 is what Brownie said they would be turning the corner at Harry's. So,
Breakfast at Harry's and then...
breakfast, that was the whole idea, but this is like the third shot, so we're all don't have a lot of faith that it's actually going to happen, because Harry was going to do a little thing, but
Thank you for that.
anyway. So, and that's it. Mr. Dodd.
Social media will say Commissioner Jenkins confirms
Yeah.
the train station will be opened in Hope Sound.
Yes, yeah, no doubt.
It's going to be yellow.
And it's going to be yellow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioners. I do have an item to discuss there. We have a noted Martin County native, City of Stewart native, Alan Gilbert, passed away, and they had a celebration for him this last Saturday at the Port Salerno Church of God, and it was really quite a moving ceremony. The City of Stewart adopted a proclamation for Alan Gilbert. And he, born in the City of Stewart, was in the first graduating class after segregation from Martin County High School. But in any event, I did not know him personally before that service, but at the end of it, I certainly knew him, felt he was certainly a noted leader in our community and deserving of all the accolades that were bestowed upon him. What I'm requesting of you all is that we could also draft a resolution in support of Mr. Gilbert, who was 78 years old, middle school band teacher, all that time. Anyway, a lot of noted things, and I would bring that resolution back at the end of the day for you all to adopt, if that's something you all would support. Proclamation.
Move approval of proclamation.
Second.
Thank you.
He also taught at Hidden Oaks Middle School as the band director and taught over 8,000 students to play an instrument.
Yes, many of them came back from around the country to celebrate.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, second by Commissioner Heatherton. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are going to take our 10:30 break, 10 minutes late. See you in 10 minutes.
You're on.
Welcome back to our September 10th continuation of our commission meeting. We are now at board and committee appointments. Ms. Donna Gordon.
Donna Gordon in administration. This is one of the two at-large positions on the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and Mr. Brian McHale received 3 votes.
I'll move Brian McHale.
Second.
Jeez, thank you.
Just trying to be magnanimous.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, public hearing number 1, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report, based comprehensive plan amendment 24-03, intergovernmental coordination element and text amendment. Mr. Doolin.
Good morning, members of the board. With me is Stephanie with the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and she will be assisting in the presentation of the first 4 plan amendments that we will present to you. But before we launch into the first of those amendments, I'd like to provide some background information for the board and for the community watching. This process started back in 2023. We were required, that is, the county was required to provide a letter to the state planning agency, and it was due December 1, 2023, notifying the state planning agency whether or not Martin County would be doing amendments to the comprehensive growth management plan every 7 years, as we're required to do. This is the 4th time in the history of Martin County that we have done an evaluation appraisal report and then done comprehensive plan amendments that followed the evaluation appraisal report. So there's nothing new, nothing unusual about this. They received the letter from Martin County on November 27, 2023, and they gave us this response letter from the Florida Department of Commerce, noting that that our plan amendments based on our evaluation appraisal should be transmitted to the department by November 27, 2024. And that is the reason why we are scheduling these hearings and presentations for the board. As you may also note, in bold, underlined text in this letter, they note that Florida statute requires the updates to the required amendments and optional amendments must be processed in the same plan amendment cycle. And that's why you will see them all on the October 22 agenda together, because we are required to send them all together up to the state before the end, but November 27. Now, the EAR was a review that was done earlier this year, was finished earlier this year and adopted by the board. The second part of it is the amendments. And the amendments go through 3 public hearings. They all go to the local planning agency, and they've been stretched out over the summer. The local planning agency's been looking at them and is still finishing the last few chapters. And then the transmittal starts today, but we're not going to ask you to take action on any of these items. We'll only ask you to continue them to the October 22 date. And then they will all go to Tallahassee and be evaluated for 60 days by the state agencies and by surrounding communities. And then they will all come back and they will, for final adoption next year, probably not till February of next year. So this is by no means a quick process. It's been stretched out from 2023 on through till 2025. And I just wanted to provide that context and that background information for everybody's knowledge. And with that, we'll move into public hearing number 1 and the intergovernmental coordination element, and I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
Good morning. Do I have to?
Yeah, you're on.
No, you're on.
Okay. Good morning. Stephanie Height. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. We were tasked with doing just 4 of your different chapters for this EAR review process. the first being the intergovernmental coordination. Many of these changes are just housekeeping in nature. Things such as updating the names of different agencies, such as including the Village of Indiantown now since they've been incorporated since the last year process, dates of different interlocal agreements, and then as far as the goals and objectives and policies, Table 3 was updated. That's the coordinating entities. So there were some different names that we needed to put in there, agency changes. Section 3.2b, coordinating mechanisms have been revised to reference the Treasure Coast Transportation Council, which coordinates regional planning with the St. Lucie and Indian River counties. And then also the membership of the makeup of the board of the MPO Policy Board was changed. References to the county's agreement with the waste management related to solid waste disposal. Policy 3.1A.4 is updated to reflect the renaming of Engineering Department to Public Works. Policy 3.1E.4, coordination on utility services is revised to reference the changes in the name of the Indiantown Utilities Company, and then also to address the expiration of a date of an interlocal agreement with the town of Jupiter. And then policy 3.1J.3, provision of technical memorandums to the school board is revised to reflect current statutory requirements on population projections. So very, very small, minor changes need to be made, and just more housekeeping in nature. We did work with county staff on this, the MPO staff, and then reached out to those other boards to make sure that all those agency names are now correct. And so I'm available for questions.
One more thing I would like to add is the local planning agency considered this amendment and voted 4-0 in approval of the proposed changes on June 20.
Commissioner Hurt.
Yeah, I'm on page 6 of 17, and it's about the makeup of the MPO, and that has been changed to all 5 county commissioners?
I believe that was a change that was made within the MPO. Made that change. We are not doing this change. We're just updating your comp plan to make sure it's consistent.
I'm just saying that this is incorrect. It's all 5 county commissioners are now going to be serving on the MPO.
Okay.
Wasn't that just approved by the governor and the cabinet just like 2 weeks ago, something?
Okay, so it's
Very
this is-
recent.
It's been a couple months since we've done
Yeah.
it, so I will make a note that we'll go ahead and update to that to say all 5 county commissioners will be included.
And then I'm on page 13 of 17, under policy 3.1E4, and it's about the coordination of utility services between Martin County, the City of Stewart, Village of Indiantown, and Jupiter Island. And it says this interlocal agreement expires in January of 2025. What are we going to do to replace the interlocal? I mean, we can't, this won't even, this will expire before we adopt. So,
I'm assuming the reference is to, the commissioner read out, there's an interlocal agreement between the county and the town of Jupiter Island.
that's what I'm most concerned about.
We've been in negotiations with the town. We had a meeting probably last December with Commissioner Jenkins involved. As far as I know, the ball is in Jupiter Island's court. We haven't heard anything in a while. But that interlocal agreement was a result, if memory serves, of a comp plan challenge that Jupiter Island did to us, and it was part of that settlement negotiation. But it's not required by law.
And just to add to that, it was a very amicable meeting, and I thought we were further along, and I'm disappointed to know that we're not.
I'm just concerned that we're going to have an element that's inaccurate by the time it's adopted.
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. After we transmit it and it comes back, if there's a change, that's like a technical change that we would be able to make before it's adopted. It won't be adopted till probably March of next year, I'm guessing, February of next
February, the
year.
earliest.
So we have time.
Yes.
So how are negotiations going with the South Martin?
It is well. So the issue, if you remember, the agreement had a planning area where we were to discuss how service will be provided. The negotiation that we were looking to complete and then bring back for the board to discuss would actually define a service territory boundary for SMRU and a very knowledgeable boundary by which Morton County would be on there. So we would bring that back to you all, have discussions, and I believe it will be, in staff's opinion, in the best interest of the county and the and South Martin Regional Utility. We both are in agreement of the conceptual boundary, and we just need to amend that. We'll get that language to you here. It'll certainly be done before this is
The boundary
adopted.
was their idea.
Okay.
Honestly, it was.
Is it different?
It is.
Logical.
So if you recall, not to get too much into the weeds in a completely different issue, the boundary, there was a planning boundary that we were to discuss what happens, and then there was there was another area west of that's because it was not mentioned in the agreement, SMRU took the opinion that they could make claim to service territories all the way out to Indiantown, if you recall. So we would eliminate all those uncertainties with this proposed amendment and keep it essentially to what the original planning boundary was. So,
Okay. Good, thanks.
Commissioner Smith.
And Clyde, I guess just for clarification, again, not that you didn't do a really good job explaining what we're doing here today, but the EAR is a required state process that asks us to go back through the comp plan and clean up inaccuracies, changes to state law, anything else that has really gone on to make sure that the current or the proposed plan is consistent with state law.
Yes, that's correct.
So relative to this issue, if it doesn't make the timeline of the year and something has to be corrected next year or the following year, there's nothing that prevents the county and SMRU or whoever doing a plan amendment that matches an agreement that either wasn't anticipated, wasn't finalized, wasn't something. I mean, this isn't like the end of it with the year. The year is just a point in time at which we are required to correct any inaccuracies that have occurred over the last 7 years relative to comp plan amendments, both at the state level and or state law at the state level, and comp plans amendments that have occurred over those 7 years.
I consider the year process to be a house cleaning process. You go through and clean your home every so often. That doesn't prevent you from doing it again.
I have a staff table light. Is that you?
Oh, that's an old light.
Go.
No, I think we've finished our presentation on public hearing number 1. As I said, the local planning agency recommended approval 4-0, and we would ask that the board continue this to October 22.
Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman, with the changes relative to Commissioner Hurd's questioning about the 5 commissioners in the MPO language being changed or corrected, I would move continuation of this item to October 23rd?
22.
22.
And Commissioner, if we could just add a time so 9 o'clock or thereafter can be heard, just so we're in compliance with the statute.
I'll include that in my motion.
Thank you.
Also pending public comment, I suspect.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay, we have motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. Whoa.
Comment?
Oh, public comment. I'm sorry. Do we have any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And again, we have a light at the staff table. Hold on.
That was when I needed to
That was
have
you?
the
Okay, so-
time. I'm sorry.
And thank you for those comments.
Dias, staff table.
Part of the process is that we get it right, so I appreciate that.
Duh. After 8 years, I finally figured it out.
The next item is public hearing number 2.
Legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report-based comprehensive plan amendment 24-06 housing element and text amendment. Mr. Doolin.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Stephanie to go ahead and into the particulars of the proposed changes to the housing element.
Again, most of these are just housekeeping in nature. A lot of this element was based on data that we received from sources such as the American Community Survey, the Bureau of Economic and Business Research, Office of Economic and Demographic Research, and the Schimberg Center at the University of Florida for Housing Studies. So in particular, we updated a lot of the different tables, the narratives, and available data now so that it's updated so that you can more accurately plan. And then that planning would involve planning for the availability of housing units that are affordable for all income levels. Several tables have been added to reflect current data relative to the housing conditions within the county. Tables include tenure, age, rent, value of homes, monthly costs for both rental and home ownership, and then also the substandard dwelling units within the county. Section 6.3C is being revised to reflect current county analysis and procedures for vacant residential land. Section 6.3.C is being revised to reflect current county analysis of procedures for vacant residential land. Section 6.3.E is being added to reference enacted legislation related to local government's authority for affordable housing unit, or the Live Local Act. Policy 6.1D.3.7 is being added related to exceptions or waivers for impact fees for the development or construction of affordable housing that is affordable. That was done in that's the legislation from 2019. Policy 6.1E.10 is updated to reference the Martin County Community Land Trust, which was created in 2023. And Policy 6.1E.11 is being updated to reflect current legislative requirements. For the planning horizons, that was changed in 2023. You're now required to do planning horizons for 10 and 20 years. We communicated with emergency management staff and county staff to make these suggested edits. I'm available for questions.
Commissioner Hurt.
Yeah, I'm on page 17 of 26, 6.3 C, vacant residential land. It's about the vacant residential lands inventory and the residential capacity analysis, and provides the procedures for doing the analysis and then what action needs to be taken in order to make sure that we have adequate capacity. That language has been stricken, therefore we don't have a way to implement the vacant lands inventory, or the vacant lands.
With this is it's actually been stricken from here, but then it's in Chapter 4, your future land use elements. So we're just referencing it here because it will be addressed in Chapter 4.
Yeah, this is a deal breaker for me. It needs to remain in here.
Members of the board, allow me to point to this language and discuss with you the particulars of it. The language is not going away entirely. It's been rewritten and recast here in this 6.3C, and it refers to Section 4.2A9 of Chapter 4 of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, just as the stricken language also references it. But there's a difference between the language you see that's stricken and the language that is in Chapter 4, Section 4.2A9. One says the primary and the secondary. The other says the primary or the secondary. So what we're doing is we're eliminating an inconsistency between the language here, where it says the primary and the secondary, and leaving it consistent with, making this chapter consistent with Chapter 4, where it says the primary or the secondary.
You're not making it consistent if you're eliminating it from here. Make it consistent, I'm fine with that, but it needs to be present in both chapters. Otherwise, there's no way to implement the residential lands inventory and the residential capacity analysis. You're just doing the analysis without implementing it.
Mr. Chair.
Can you please weigh in?
Oh, he has a light on.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Commissioners, good morning. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. So I think I understood the question or comment, but as Mr. Doolin indicated, it also cross-references, as previously, Section 4.2.A paren 9. So that is not being disbanded with, that is just carried on. So we have what we need to, in the comp plan, to facilitate the residential capacity analysis.
Commissioner Smith.
And again, just for clarity purposes on all of this, an overarching component of an EAR is to uncomplicate, if there are conflicts between chapters, if there are conflicts between wording, it is the goal of this process to plain language that and to come up with the most consistent language possible. Is that right? And that's effectively what you've done.
Correct.
And they will review that at the state level to make sure that is consistent and that clearly something like this being pointed out, they will draw attention to. Thank you.
I want it retained.
Commissioner Campy.
Is it just a matter of opinion? If it's there, it's not detrimental, correct? Mr. Doolin? I get what Commissioner Smith just said about trying to keep everything streamlined and tight, but if Commissioner Hurd requests it, is it okay that if you changed what you said and/or the language there, but left it there because it makes one of my commission colleagues feel more comfortable with the overall process?
If it's the pleasure of the board, we can recast 6.3C.
It's just duplicative, so yes.
I get that it's duplicative, but for one of my colleagues who is interested in having it, I would prefer that we keep it, because for me, I'd rather have consistency and approvals from commissioners, because it's not like earth-shattering, it's just a matter of having a duplicate passage, but it's important to a colleague. I would agree with her, because I think keeping us all sort of unified in the approval process is more important for me than this would appear twice. So that's 2.
You would change that to or.
And do the change that you had mentioned.
So you want to do a motion that you feel comfortable
Well,
with?
we're just going to ask the board to continue it to October 22nd to 9 o'clock or thereafter be heard. And then on October 22nd, when we bring it back, it'll be changed and you can vote on the actual.
Well, as long as 3 of us
As long as 3.
quasi-agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to vote on that, right?
Or head shake.
You just need to vote on the continuance, not the change. This is just for discussion purposes.
For the purposes of this conversation, if you do not put it in a motion, there will be the conspiracy that somehow we're pushing this under the rug and it's not
Right.
happening.
No doubt.
You can vote on the change to
Please.
make the change and bring it back on the 22nd.
Commissioner Hurd.
Staff guidance to fix the language according to Commissioner Hurd's request.
Yeah, I move that 6.3C be retained in its entirety and the language be matched with the policies in 4.2A9, and that the public hearing be advertised to be out sometime after 9 o'clock on October 22.
This public hearing is continued to October 22nd at 9 o'clock or thereafter, as can be heard.
That's my motion.
Thank you.
Are you done with the rest of this?
Yes.
Unless there are other,
Commissioner Smith.
Second.
The only problem with the wording, with entirety, that says that that entire crossed-out section needs to remain. If it's not consistent with the other section, then it won't be in its entirety. I mean, my recommendation would be that you give staff the ability to word 6.3.C to be consistent, but to retain as much of the language as possible so that it's not somehow appearing to have dropped out.
That's what her motion said.
No, she said entirety.
But then she also said consistent, so it was double.
Well, you've got 2 words going on,
Not disagreeing.
and there will be critics that will say that wasn't what was meant. So all I'm doing is just trying to, all can do what you want.
Commissioner Hurd.
What's the language in 4.2A9? And, or? That's the
Or.
only, it's or?
worded differently throughout, but the major difference is the or.
Okay, so then with the addition of or rather than and.
We can do that.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Look at that way we work together. It's amazing.
Now we can keep people in the.
All right, public hearing number 3, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report-based comprehensive plan amendment 24-16, arts and culture and historic preservation. Can I finish?
No. Can I ask a question?
And a text amendment. Mr. Smith, let me turn your light off.
I think we voted just on
No,
this.
I thought it was all one.
Yeah, to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Mr. Doolan?
Trying to get to the right page.
Were you done with that section?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're done with it.
We're on to
that's
3.
what I asked.
Public hearing number 3 now.
We didn't ask for public.
Yes, he did.
I think he called for public comment.
Thank you. It wasn't allowing me to move to that page. This is the arts and culture element. I'll turn it over to Stephanie, but I will say that it's been extensively reviewed by our local arts council, and many of the changes were proposed by them. So we feel that this is a good change to the plan. And go ahead.
Thank you. Again, many of these changes are housekeeping in nature, updating data and analysis from a survey that was done in 2022. Most of the changes update agency names, they update the narratives, the data policies to reflect current conditions. We did work with Martin Arts, as Mr. Doolan said, CRA staff as well, because they do have a role in the historic preservation piece of it. So policies are revised to reflect the renaming of the Public Art Site Committee to the Public Art Advisory Committee, and terminating the Public Art Master Plan and 5-year plan, which was done by an ordinance by this commission in 2019. And then one of the policies just was better located somewhere else, so I relocated that. And then, like I said, most of this is just to update the different data and analysis in there to reflect what is currently going on in the county. So, another big change was to add in the support of the library and the county's clerk's office, because they have now started doing a lot of the historical document retention. So we wanted to make sure that they were included in there as well. Very, very few changes in this element.
I'll add to that, the local planning agency voted 5-0 to recommend approval on July 18.
Any questions for staff? Commissioner Smith?
Pending public comment, I would move that we continue this item to October 22nd
Second, on the 22nd.
At 9 o'clock.
at 9 o'clock or thereafter.
Do we have any public comment for this public hearing? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Public hearing number 4, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report based comprehensive plan amendment 24-17 public schools facility element and a text amendment. Mr. Doolan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This element, we owe a big thank you to the staff at the school district. We gave them the text. They sent us back the changes that they wanted, and a lot of the mapping and a lot of the data comes directly from our Martin County School District. So big thank you to them. And Stephanie?
Okay. To add to what Mr. Doolan said, the things that we changed other than what the school district required were to update tables, data, maps, narratives, enrollment projections, fiscal considerations to put in current information of the school district's capital assets and long-term debt. We revised language related to school concurrency related to development. Policies 17-1E1 and 17-1E2 are updated to include the Village of Indiantown in the annual review of the public school facilities element. And then also, policy 17.1F.3 is updated to include the Village of Indiantown and the Martin Metropolitan Planning Organization in efforts to coordinate for sidewalks, bike paths, and facilitate travel to and from schools and recreational facilities. So with that, we're open for suggestions.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. Any wording in regards to charter schools or private schools, like All About Achieving? Is that,
We don't have wording in there for that. There are charter schools, are references, and we have included statistics on charter schools, but at the local level, there's like not a lot, you don't have a lot of authority of those.
Just
But we can
in
add.
my mind, the only thing I was thinking that has changed in the last several years in regards to the school concept was charters and private educational organizations.
Right, and we have put in there and updated the different charter schools that are in the county now. It went from 2 to 4 since the last year process.
Thank you.
So
With
that
that,
is noted in there.
seeing if there's any public comment, I would make a motion to accept. No, to continue until October 22nd, sometime after 9 o'clock.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner
Public schools.
Campy, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Please note that it passed unanimously. Public hearing number 5, legislative public hearing to consider transmittal of evaluation and appraisal report based comprehensive plan 24-05 transportation element, a text amendment. Mr. Doolin, you are, there's a whole bunch of other names on here that, anyway, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. I have with me County Engineer Mike Grzelka, who will be presenting the proposed changes to Chapter 5. This was an in-house work effort, and a lot of it looks like a lot's been changed, but actually a lot's been just relocated and rearranged for better clarity. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Grzelka.
I like having the guest presenters. It's nice, changes it up.
Let me get us to, I think you want to be on page.
You'll all have to bear with me today, too, seeing as this all just got dropped in my lap after Luke left
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, so.
I'm pleased with that decision.
Whoops, no, I want, no figures, I want, slides are on 415.
Where'd he go? Do we know?
Yes, I'll tell you later.
There we go.
Why would we get him back if he left?
So,
Superstar. It's one of my next gens,
okay,
next generation leadership.
Okay, so some of the biggest changes in here, like I said, it looks like it's a lot of changes, but a lot of it's just removing stuff around and reorganizing it. By adding the purpose and intent up to the front of it, adding emphasis on multimodal systems and the overall transportation network in the county. The roadways, the biggest thing with the roadways is using the newly adopted FDOT qualitative level of service concept, which talks about content classifications, which what it does now is it's based on what people expect delays in traffic depending on what type of urbanized or rural type areas. So that's one of the biggest changes on a lot of it, because we've gone to this route for our level of service, qualitative level of service. It clarifies some of the long-term and short-term forecasting methods. Remove some redundant stuff because it bounced around inside here. So that's kind of some of our cleanup stuff that we did. Pathways, it's adds some more stuff in there about pathways and mitigation strategies for the pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicles. And now talks about more of the pathway needs and the talks also about the new FDOT adopted its level of traffic stress concepts, which then it basically is how comfortable people are walking on a specific, or walking or bicycling or traveling on a specific pathway, whether they're very comfortable with it or whether they try to avoid it. So it's a whole different way of looking at, it's a stress-based level of service as opposed to a strictly number of people, number of trips.
Could you hold that thought for just a second, Commissioner Campy?
Commissioner Smith, is this the time, maybe, do we need to formalize language about your suggestion of putting the bike lanes, especially on bridges, inside the boundary of the border of the barricade? Is that something we'd want to put in here or no?
I appreciate the ask. I don't know that this is the place to try to do that. I think two components to that. One, I don't know that we can comprehensively, planning-wise, require the state to do things within our right-of-way. I don't know that we can do that. The state's going to trump us on whether we can or can't. I was thinking about that as you asked it, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what could we do? Can we send commentary along with this on an item asking the state to review and look at policies and strategies to make multi-lane pathways safer for both bicyclists and pedestrians, and that goes along with the stress concept? Because there are some things we as a state could be doing, but again, I don't know that through our comp plan we can dictate to the state that we want them to do something.
That's definitely above my,
Yeah.
above my
I was just thinking that if the state should agree in the future, and then we look back at our rules, and it doesn't say that you could. So I was just wondering, even if we just layered it in there, not trying to trump the state, but just try to have something that was in, at least, what the concept is that the bike lane would be on the inside of the concrete.
There are three things that have kind of surfaced as ideas, and one that could be instantaneous. Again, I just don't know that the ear is, as much as I would love to use the ear to do something like this. One would be to have the audible grinding system, that the white line that is adjacent to the existing bike lane be ground for audible. That would be a huge change on bridges, at least. Moving the Jersey barriers to the exterior side of the bike lane would be great, but that's a huge state change of doing things.
Well, maybe at least on bridges where you have nowhere to go, you're stuck out there.
And then the other would be painting all of anything that would happen relative to a resurfacing or rebuilding. Like right now, Jensen Beach Causeway is going through a complete resurfacing and redo. It would be the absolutely perfect time for them to paint the bikeways on all of Jensen Beach Causeway Boulevard. But again, I don't know that putting it in here is, Mike, I'm looking at you like.
Yeah, and
Mr. Don.
Mike's not on.
The comp plan is your goals and aspirations, and you can certainly talk about wanting to improve safety. On the regulatory side, our road, we're limited by state statute on what you can actually do. We have to follow the federal rules and the state green book in terms of our minimum requirements. So you can't introduce a requirement in here that's not allowed by law, but you can aspire to make changes that you want to be more safe. So I think the idea that you want to add into one of these goals that we could do between now and it comes back to enhance the bicycle safety along bridges and arterials, that sort of thing. We could do that, and since we still have Miss Wixer helping us on the side, we could get her to work on some of that language and bring it back when we come back. I think that would be my recommendation, is that we put it into one of the goals or objectives in here that would that would be part of our goal to work with the state on developing new standards that would make it safer. Does that make sense?
Like it.
You want that in a motion from Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Certainly,
I
if
think
you
you can
wish.
provide that direction when you make the motion to continue it, to direct staff to amend the goals and objectives to improve the safety of bicyclists on bridges and major roadways.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I think that we definitely can make those regulations for us, for county maintained bridges, and just encourage the state to consider these safety improvements on the bridges where they have jurisdiction.
I don't want to disagree with you, Commissioner, but the state does limit what we can do on our own roadways as well through the DOT standards. That's why I was suggesting that we can get the state to amend the rules, which is the standard. So even on county roads, we're limited by state statute on what we can design them to.
One thing is for sure, by doing a goal that would highlight some additional things, it would force the state to review it if it's highlighted and look at it and go, yeah, but we don't like that. But you're right, because if this is to mirror 0 fatalities, which is the #1 priority of the state of Florida for transportation, then they should be all over if there are suggestions that will make it safer for bicyclists and pedestrians on their roadways and ours. But, I mean, all it may do is serve as a highlighting feature to get them to focus on, oh, gee, by the way, here are some ideas.
But as well in the comprehensive plan, like Mr. Doolin said and Mr. Donaldson said, it is our goals, our aspirations, our wishes. Commissioner Smith, can you remind us why you had to come up with that idea in the first place?
Yeah, very simply, we had a very prominent resident unfortunately lost his life on one of our state bridges here in Martin County in Sewell's Point. And his daughters and family members came to meet with us and talk to us about ideas that they had to make what happened to their father perhaps never happen again to someone else that is using those facilities. And
Martin Drummond.
Yes, sir.
He lost his life, so if maybe his family could see some slight positive outcome from something terrible. I also remember in Jensen several years ago, there was a boy riding a bike that was hit by a car that was knocked off the bridge into the water, unless I had that weird.
And our delegation is very aware. The daughters have communicated with our folks, and it would not surprise me that we don't see some kind of legislation this year to adopt some of these things. But I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Add that to our legislative priorities this year, too.
Absolutely. So with that said, do we have any public comment for this public hearing?
I don't know that they were done with their
Did
presentation.
you want to continue? I mean,
Oh, well, yeah, maybe we ought to finish before we
there's not a whole lot. I mean, we're
Sorry.
almost done. Because now we've basically prioritized and changed the ordering and everything. That it goes with the roadways, then into the transit. We've actually added more stuff in transit because transit didn't have a whole lot in it before. More bringing it up to date for what we currently have is what we've done in transit. Airports really hasn't changed at all, very much, except being moved around in the order of things. Railroad, we brought it up to dates to include all the second track and the high speed rail, and we identify the fact that there's a deficiency with the one-track bridge for both the railroads and the waterways, so that affects both of those elements. It introduces a little bit more waterway. The basic goals have not really changed on any of these things. It's just more the way it's being looked at. And of course, the figures that go along with it are being updated to meet up with what new roads we've put in since the last update and that kind of stuff. And with that, it's pretty much. If you guys have any more questions, and there's a little section that.
Yeah, there's, Donna, can we go to page 347? Thank you. Just wanted to touch on the local planning agency recommendation from August 1, 2024. The LPA voted 4-0 to approve the proposed changes, and they had some additional comments, which you see in red on the page. You can see for yourself. They mentioned the station and clarifying that dredging of waterways be done with environmentally sensitive methods. Those were not included in the motion. They were just additional comments made as part of the LPA action.
Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we continue this item to October 22nd with the additional comments, the comments relative to bicycle pedestrian safety goals in this element, pending public comment.
Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, starting on page 15 of 33, under section 5.6, it says that the purpose of this section is to establish guidelines for developing the plan for the public non-motorized pathway needs of Martin County based on the changing demographics and the decreased dependency on single occupancy vehicles. I don't think that either of those things are true. I don't see that our demographics are changing, and I certainly don't see a decreased dependency on single occupancy vehicles.
You can answer the content. Can you tell me the section again,
Yeah,
Commissioner?
5.6A in 15 of 33, which is page 370.
Thank you.
I believe that as far as the pedestrian walking goes, we are seeing an increase in pedestrians in certain areas of the county. A lot more pedestrian than we've seen in the past. As well as the bicyclists, the recreational bicyclists, I should say. They're not using it for transportation, but the recreational guys are definitely increasing. As far as the decrease in single occupancy vehicles, I don't know that answer. I mean, just like I said, I'm just catching up on this.
And what's the purpose of this table?
The general use characteristics tables that you're referring to?
Yeah.
That's all part of the stress stuff. That's all part of that pedestrian and walker, bicycle rider. It's part of their. It's kind of explaining the level of stress that people are able to tolerate.
So that's the descriptor. So if you're in a stress 1, then children are comfortably able to ride on the road, as opposed to a stress 4, you wouldn't let your child get near that pathway. So it's just try to provide.
What's the purpose? Is this
the purpose is that you could then label a particular pathway in the county and say, based upon the new DOT standard, this sidewalk has a stress level 4. We need to make some changes to it because it's next to a community with lots of children. How do we change it to get to a stress level 1? And so it's a way to try to provide some measurement to a description that says, that the citizen says, there's no way I can let my child walk to school on this roadway. What are you going to do about it? And it would provide us a means of putting some numeric criteria to saying, if we do these improvements, we can get it from a 4 to a 3 or a 4 to a 1. And that's the purpose of the table, is just to give you a descriptor of what does a stress level 1 mean. It's just a very general definition so that we could use it as a planning tool in the future. Is that correct?
And this has been adopted by the DOT.
And so this is the DOT standard, right? So we're just reflecting the new
way of looking at the pathways.
The new numerical method of describing distress.
May I speak to just that issue? Do you mind jumping in? Did I jump in? Perfect case in point on Berry Avenue. She had the floor. I apologize to you, sir. May I speak?
Please.
Thank you. Berry Avenue from the Hammock Creek, so from Golden Bear to Martin Highway, the sidewalk used to be right on the curb. And it's the main drag for a lot of kids that would walk and ride their bikes, but they were riding right next to the roadway. And we used, one of the first things we ever did was move the sidewalk back to create the grassy space, like 12-foot grassy space in between. And it was because parents were afraid of their small elementary school children riding their bikes so close to the road. So that this chart would be perfectly accurate and a good tool for those kind of situations where you'd say, well, how bad is it? Well, it's a 3. So I like it.
I still think it's not useful. I would consider this sidewalk in front of this building a 4. That doesn't keep me from walking on it.
Well, you're a grown-up.
Well, I judge, it's discretionary, but so at any rate, I think that this is not, shouldn't be in our comprehensive plan. Now I'm going on to the next page, which is 371, and it's about transit. And quite frankly, I think we all, those of us who are serving in the MPO, want to kind of throw our transit plan away. And so I don't know that any of this is going to be relevant for us in the next years. I think that we're going to try to do something different with transit, and I don't want our hands to be tied. And I think that this document is tying our hands, particularly with regard to transit. I'm on page 372 at the bottom, 5.6E waterway needs. Talking about a regional waterways plan, including dredging, inlets, bridges, and navigational constraints. It also has an evaluation of a high-speed ferry service from Fort Pierce and Stewart, and talking about channel dredging. These things are all undesirable to me. I don't want to have a regional plan, waterways plan with Port St. Lucie. I don't want to have a high-speed ferry linking Stewart and Port St. Lucie. I don't want them to be interfering, well. And then we're going on to page 383, plan for a regional public transit authority. I don't know who that's with, but I don't want to have a regional public transit authority either. And then we're going to, it looks to me like in policy 5.5A7 and 5.5A8, we're going to require employers to provide their employees access to public transit and to require major industrial development to incorporate access to public transit. I think that's heavy-handed. Strive to expand the fixed route public transit system. I don't think we want to do that either. Strive to expand access to rail transportation. The county shall collaborate with the Florida East Coast Railroad, CSX Transportation, to develop a plan to coordinate expanded freight and passenger rail access to the urban corridor of the county. I don't think we want to do that either.
The urban corridor.
So those are some of the, oh, and then there's, on page 388, a policy to deepen the channel in Manatee Pocket. You know, I probably am the only landowner on the Manatee Pocket who still has a natural shoreline. That doesn't diminish the importance of natural shorelines. And also, I think that dredging, if it's decent habitat, dredging destroys seagrasses. So I don't like the emphasis upon dredging. So, in short, my comments about the transportation element is that it needs an awful lot of work.
Mr. Donaldson.
I would just only address a couple of things.
Your mic.
Just address a couple of things. The regional plan that was mentioned earlier was actually something that the board had already adopted with the MPO, and I think that was just included as to include a document that the board had already adopted. And then under the transit element, those are already existing goals within the comp plan. I think a lot of that you can see was changing from transportation to transit. It really wasn't making major changes to what was already in the comp plan. In terms of the board's changing direction on any one of these elements, that you can certainly be still free to do so, just because it's in there to encourage or try to offer different transportation alternatives. Should you decide to do them or not, this could always be amended later to reflect what's actually going on the ground. So I would suggest that for the most part, leaving those the same. If you want to discuss some of these other items individually, that's fine, but I would, some of these were already just minor changes to what the comp plan already said.
Commissioner Heatherington.
My light was on when we had the conversation, and can you go back to that table, the level of stress? Who determines, that was way back then. Who determines that criteria? It seems very subjective. Does FDOT have a formula to rank the 1 through 4, or is that, it seems very subjective. How does one quantify what, most children can confidently use the facility? Again, that's very subjective. Does the DOT outline that formula, or is somebody coming up with that?
I believe this is DOT language.
But if we have to include this in our consideration for adding facilities, who determines this level of traffic stress? Is that determined by the county? How do we assign that number criteria?
Jim Gordon, Public Works Director. So DOT has a manual called the Multimodal Level of Service Manual that describes how you would assign those levels of stress. The county would be responsible for evaluating all of our multimodal pathways and providing that ranking of based on the manual that DOT has. So we would do our own rankings, but we would use the methodology that's outlined in the DOT Multimodal Level of Service Manual.
We could prioritize safety for pedestrians and cyclists without this table in there as well, right?
Of course. Yeah, it was a way to quantify it because otherwise it is entirely subjective and we're just looking at individual pieces. We just did through the MPO, we did an evaluation of congestion management up on US 1 north of the bridge. And during those discussions, we've talked about that a lot of people feel uncomfortable using those sidewalks on US 1 north of the bridge. That's an example of a level 4. But we can use this manual. We can use a different methodology, but this one was just one that's available. It's already adopted in Florida, and it would make it consistent with what DOT is doing.
And would there be some kind of public input? I mean, I agree with Commissioner Heatherington. At some point, how does Hope Sound weigh in and say that Bridge Road needs a safer something?
Sure, we get that all the time, is requests to either modify existing or to create new pathways. So I think the process would remain the same, that we'd go through the request for service where people would like new things, or we would get projects through the CRA NAC in the respective areas. But just like we evaluate level of service on our roadways, we look at that for the roadways, it's based on number of trips per day and available capacity on the roadway and things like that. So we do that all the time on our roads. Every single year, we reevaluate that.
I just think maybe from what Stacy's saying, what I'm thinking, maybe what others are thinking, when you get a multimodal pathway, whatever you're going to define it as, there ought to be some kind of public perception survey that goes out to that community to say, look, we think we hear this, we had some complaints, what does the greater picture think about it? So that somebody that's going to rely on a numerical system to say, I'm not putting my kid on a sidewalk that's rated a 4, or I also wonder about the liability side of this, that if you recognize something is as a 4 and you do nothing about it, you're on the hook when something goes wrong. And I'm sure they have thought about that, but The follow-on cost for this, I think it's good that they're doing it, but the follow-on cost could be enormous relative to Ed's thing. Well, we moved the sidewalk 12 feet in. Okay, that was, a couple $100,000 probably to do that. But across the county relative to every pathway or everything that people raise as a level 4, we are going to have to get on that faster than not, I think. Anyway, just, whoa, look who's in the room.
Seems subjective. I don't understand, it makes the formula that someone and who would determine this is not well defined. So I think it creates conflict rather than more clarity.
I think, Commissioners, at its best, it's used as a tool when you're seeking funding from the feds, that you've done an evaluation that's standard to their criteria, and you're making the request for funding a change to improvement. You can say that, yes, on the standard, it's a 4. We're requesting these additional dollars to make this improvement so that we can get it at least to a 2 or something like that major. So it's really really more of a planning tool to give you a chance to evaluate it, and using the state's methodology, then we are making the argument of there's nobody using the sidewalk because it's so dangerous, as opposed to strictly a level of service. You want to widen the sidewalk or move it. Well, nobody's using it. Why would we invest in it? This is a new method to try to get you to look at it from using the adjacent road usage affects the pedestrian use.
I think it's fake.
So we're trying to speak the state's language, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right. And we can take the table out if you so desire and leave it the way it is. And we still may wind up using the state language even if it's not in here, in order to get our goal, which is state funding to help us fix things.
Commissioner Campy.
I think we're bogging down on whether or not we leave a chart in here, but that's just me. To some of Commissioner Hurd's points about, I don't know what her reasoning was, like you wouldn't want a high-speed ferry to come. I don't know if one would, but I don't know if that was an ability for people to, commute out of this area to go to jobs in St. Lucie or Port St. Lucie. That would just be another way of taking some cars off the road. I don't know if it's feasible, but there's plenty of communities that, that are along the water bodies that have some kind of water taxi, high-speed water ferry that just could be an option. So I don't know specifically why you didn't like it. I sort of like that one. And then the concept of a regional transit authority, to me, if it's like rapid transit authority, is a whole different vibe to me than regional, because a transit authority would speak to, when I know that there are some landowners in Palm City that are trying to coordinate with landowners on the other side of the canal in Port St. Lucie, where they might be able to line roadways up that keeps people from getting on 95 and coming around on Martin Highway. If I know that a while ago, the folks at Ashley Capital were trying to coordinate with the folks that were up in Port St. Lucie about creating a road that came straight down to a bridge that went to their kind of internal traffic network. And I'm not saying we're going to create a whole group over this, but it was a little disjointed trying to figure out what we were doing down here and what they were doing up there. So I think sometimes having a little more regional kind of mindset could help, especially for those of us that have districts that straddle the boundary, the county line. So I don't know if it's enough for her to feel like she doesn't want to support this chapter, but those things I could see are more just sort of personal decisions than big kind of changes to philosophy. I yield.
Commissioner Smith.
Thoughts, I think part part of that line that was in there about the freight and passenger rail going west was probably recognition of the concept that has been floating around for 7 or 8 years now about expanding Highway 27's capacity of rail. We have 1,000-foot of right-of-way out in the middle of the state that has car and truck traffic, but is the perfect opportunity for intermodal truck traffic and rail freight to get it off the East Coast and move it to the interior part of the state and get it out of our, if you will, urban areas of the coast. I don't know if that's really what it was, but that's how I interpret that. Dredging, whatever dredging we would do, I guess, Mr. Donaldson, that there is a significant amount of seagrass study that goes along with any kind of a dredging project, that you can't probably dredge seagrass beds for permitting purposes and all sorts of other study purposes, so I don't know that that's an issue. I think we do have our regional transit authority, it's called the TPO, right? That we coordinate with St. Lucie County on regional transportation network issues, I think, right? We still have TPO in place?
Pretty infrequent.
Or not TPO, but what's the?
We do the TCTC.
TCTC, that's what it was, I'm
So
sorry.
we meet with Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin County.
And then on this rating thing, it struck me as you, Stacy, as you were talking, or Ed was talking about it, whichever. Don't you wish we could put traffic lights in this same category? Like if the public thinks an intersection is dangerous and the Green Book doesn't say it's warranted, well, so what? If it had a rating of 4, then somebody would be mandated that we would be able to allow ourselves to put a traffic light in at South River,
I do.
right? So maybe as a suggestion, we put a note or a footnote or something in here relative to the state maybe adopting the same kind of curriculum, language, something for streetlights to give locals more control over those decisions versus the state deciding that that's not in their best interest as a thought process.
I think that's an old light.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Thank God. Okay. Where are we?
I'll make a motion.
Somebody want to make a motion? Go ahead, please.
I would move that we continue this item to October 22nd on or after 9 a.m. And that staff take the comments that various commissioners have facilitated, and if there is a place to add or correct or change language, that when it comes back in October, that those changes are reflective in what we heard today.
I will second that.
Okay, thank God. Any public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Hurd dissenting. And with that, we are going to take our lunch break, and we'll be back at 1:30 to hear public hearing number 8, Preset.